It says I have a hot air balloon is tied to the ground with two taut straight ropes as shown in the diagram below. One rope is directly under the balloon and makes a right angle with the ground. The other rope forms an angle of 50 degrees with the ground. So this is the basic information I have. For me, I usually don't worry too much about this. I'll jump into the actual question. So the first thing I'm going to do with this, if I'm looking at this part, the first thing I'm going to do with it is I'm going to look at the shape of it and I'll automatically begin like this. So as soon as I have this, I have already in this my opposite side. Because of the 90 degrees, I have over here my hypotenuse. And that means that the ground level is actually what I would call my adjacent side. So all of a sudden, I have all this information. Now, once I have this information, I can start looking at the question itself. And so the question itself starts like this. And it says, determine the height to the nearest foot of the balloon directly above the ground. And so what I'm looking for really is I am looking here for what I'm going to call the height. This is what I want. So I want this information and I know this information along with this. So here's the deal. Once I have this information present, then I look at my package. So you already have this package. And I look on the section with my trigonometry, right? Because what I have to decide is which one has the opposite and hypotenuse. Is it sine, cosine, or tangent? So somebody look it up. Somebody give me a word here. Which one do I need? Thank you. So in here, I'm going to say that I am going to use the sine. So I'll put it here. And my space is kind of small, so I'm going to write it down as the sine of 50 degrees. And that is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. So with that in mind, because my space is kind of small, I'm going to jump over here and I'm going to look at my chart and I'm going to find what is the sine of 50 degrees. So can somebody look at the chart and give me the sine of 50 degrees?
7, 6, 6, 0.
7, 6, 6, 0. Okay. So with that information, I'm going to now say that I have here 7660 is equal to, I don't know the height, so this is unknown. And I happen to know the hypotenuse is 110. Okay? As soon as I realize that this is what the problem looks like, let me fix this real quick. As soon as I realize this is what it looks like, I notice all of a sudden that I'm right back at a kind of problem that I've done in the past. So how do I solve this if the missing number's on top and I have the 110 in the bottom? How do I go about solving this problem? Okay, so I'm going to multiply by the bottom number, so that means that this is 110. And whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. So I multiply here by 110. These cancel out. And as soon as these cancel out, all I got to do is take my calculator and actually multiply. So what is 110 times 0.7660? I think it's in the 80s or something. So take out your calculator, do the multiplication, 110 times this decimal number. Anybody found it? So I'm being told that this is going to be 84.26. Now, in my question here, I want this to be to the nearest foot. So as soon as she gave me 84.26, the nearest foot now becomes 84 feet. Okay? I don't need the decimal basically. Okay? Now here's the next piece. The biggest difference in the word problem compared to a regular problem, if I had just given you a picture of a triangle with missing pieces, we would have had one answer, that's it. But whenever it's a word problem, you want to create an answer that basically talks about the original question. So you want to go back to the question. The original question was asking, what is the height of the balloon? So we have to finish the answer like this. And I'll put it over here on purpose. The height of the balloon is approximately 84 feet above ground. That is the biggest difference between a word problem and a regular problem as far as I'm concerned. We have to create a sentence that talks about the original question. So I have to create a question or a sentence basically that is in the context of the original question. Okay? Así que tengo que asegurar de que ponga una respuesta dentro del contexto de la pregunta original. Así que aquí tengo la altura de este globo, que es aproximadamente 88, 84 pies. Okay. Now that takes care of the first one. Okay. That's the information for the first one. If I then go ahead and I continue, and I look at the bottom one, the next question basically says, determine the distance to the nearest foot on the ground between the two ropes. So what does that really mean? That means I want to figure out this distance. So I have two choices. I can use the original answer, the one that I just got. So this is 84 feet. I can use this answer, or I can use the original number they gave me. Here's my thinking, because it did happen today at one point. I will always try to use the original numbers if I can get away with it, because I know that those are true. Every so often, I might do a calculation where I mess up the answer for some reason. And the easiest way I could mess this up, I got the wrong number here, let's say. Okay. So if I use this number in my answer, which I could, then by the time I get over here, I might just be making the problem worse. So whenever possible, use the original stuff they gave. So I'm going to purposely ignore this answer, and I'm going to say that I need something that uses the adjacent and hypotenuse. So if I look at my paper for the list, which one uses adjacent and hypotenuse? Así que si quiero usar solamente esto y esto, ignorando esto, ¿cuál de los tres ejemplos me permite usar el lado adyacente con la hipotenusa? Which one? Which one is it? I think you said it right. So cosine, okay? Cosine. So to do that, my spacing here is a little bit bigger. I'm going to leave this here so you can still see it more or less. And I'm going to go here and I'm going to say that I have the cosine of 50, and that is going to equal to the adjacent over hypotenuse. I'm going to use my chart again. So hopefully I gave you the actual chart. And I need to figure out what is the cosine of 50. Can somebody look it up and give me that number? What's the cosine of 50?
0.648.
6428. 6428. I don't know the adjacent side, so that's the part I don't know. I know the hypotenuse is my original number, so I keep the 110. And the nice thing about this one is, if I already know what to do the first time, then I already know what to do this time. Like, I'm not changing my step. So in here, let me fix this a little bit. I'm going to do the same step, which is multiply by 110 and multiply by 110. So the good news is I get to do this twice. Okay. Respectfully, for those of you on your phone, unless you're looking up answers, I need your attention here, please. So with that in mind, I'm now going to have whatever this answer is. So what is 110 times 0.6428? I think it's in the 70s.
70.7.
70, 70? So 70.70. This one is also asking for the nearest foot. Now the last one, 84.26, the 2 doesn't affect the 84. So we just left it as 84. On this answer, the 7 does affect what happens with the 0. So if I go to the nearest foot, all of a sudden, this is approximately 71 feet. Okay. Now again, I want the distance between the two rows. That's the context of the question. So when I answer this, it's good to have this answer of 71 feet. That is good. But I have to create a sentence that's in the context of the original question. So my sentence will say, the distance between the two ropes is approximately 71 feet. And I can probably say 71 feet apart. The biggest difference with word problems, as far as I am concerned, is we have to create a sentence that is in the context of the original question. I'm not allowed to just say 71 and I'm done. I'm not allowed to just say 84 and I'm done. I have to put it into words. That is one of the biggest differences. Así que lo único que estoy pidiendo que es diferente. No es tanto las calculaciones son prácticamente lo mismo. Pero sí estoy pidiendo de que ahora, basado en la pregunta original, tener una frase representando la pregunta original. Así que dentro del contexto de lo que hemos solucionado.